Hi guys, this is GSMDome and I'm here with the Nubia Flip 2. It's supposed to be a sort of mid-range foldable phone with, I would say, screens which would belong just at home on a flagship foldable flip phone. Now, I should probably mention that in Europe the device is priced at around 600 euros, and the biggest novelty is the larger screen. The predecessor had a 1.43-inch panel. This one has a 3-inch external panel, a very large internal screen, 6.9 inches, a MediaTek Dimensity mid-range processor, and a ring light here for the main camera at the back side. I should also mention that the battery is more generous and the charging is faster than the Galaxy Z Flip 6. Now, it's time to get straight to the review. We've done an unboxing, we've shown you the accessories and a special gift box, so let's see the review. It measures 7.2 millimeters in thickness when opened up, and the frame is made of aluminum. Meanwhile, the back side is covered with glass here, and as a novelty we have splash resilience. The colors in which is available are black, violet, blue or white, and as you can see we have here the black version. Now the crease remains, I would say, pretty visible, perhaps not as visible as on the predecessor, maybe as visible as on an older Galaxy Z Flip. That's the vibe I'm getting here. It's quite well built, it's easy to handle, and it's about 20 grams lighter than the first Nubia Flip. Now, as far as the screen is concerned, as I mentioned before, the external screen has evolved a lot. The first Nubia Flip had a 1.43-inch circular OLED screen. This one has a 3-inch rectangular screen, still an OLED, with a resolution of 422 over 682 pixels and 900 nits of brightness. The internal screen is a foldable 6.9-inch OLED, which promises up to 1200 nits of brightness. And we also have a test video prepared for you, so you can see just how immersive this is. Here we go. Of course, you can zoom in like that. Brilliant colors, a pretty immersive experience. Bezel thickness is about on par with what you would get on a Galaxy Z Flip. Generous view angles. And excellent contrast even in the full sun. And you should also be able to watch some clips on the external screen. Of course, a more weird aspect here, but it's still capable of that. Now, we have some measurements for you, and prepare to be shocked because they're quite, I would say, high. They're going above expectations. Okay, so let me just stop this. We did a brightness test, and let's see what we achieved here. We achieved 1350 lux units for the internal screen, the foldable one, which is very impressive. This 6.9-incher has 120 Hz refresh rate, and it's a very bright panel. It's the 12th brightest. It surpasses Xiaomi 15 Ultra, Honor Magic 7 Pro, OnePlus 12, and it's among the brightest foldable phones. I see that it beat any other flip phone we tested. It's only surpassed by the Galaxy Z Fold 6 if you're only checking out foldables. It definitely beats the Galaxy Z Flip 5 and 6. We also measure the brightness of the, well, outer screen, which is pretty bright as well. 808 lux, superior to the Motorola Razr 60 Ultra, Razr 50, Razr 50 Ultra, and so forth. So pretty bright things here, and I'm going to talk more about the screen, the always-on display, the pets, and the features once we get to the software part. Now, let's see what's inside the phone. So, inside the phone, as I said before, we have a mid-range processor, MediaTek Dimensity 7300X 4nm. It's an octa-core setup here, and it's accompanied by, let's see, 8 gigs of RAM and 256 gigabytes of storage. Now, when it comes to performance, we did a bunch of tests. I didn't notice any big overheating even when playing games, and let's see what the device delivered. So first of all, I'm going to start with the CPU throttling test, which looks fine. We only lost 14% performance when running this test here. And it takes 15 minutes and it stresses the phone quite a bit, so it's actually not bad. Meanwhile, in Antutu 10, here we are. Typical mid-range behavior, 600K points above Motorola H50 Fusion and Galaxy A36. In Geekbench 6, in the multi-core subtest, we're once again above the Galaxy A36, Redmi 14 Pro 5G, Galaxy A35, while in the 3D mark, definitely not a gaming phone, fighting older Huawei phones like Nova 11 Pro, and in this one competing with the likes of the Oppo Reno 30 series or the Motorola H60 Fusion. So typical mid-range behavior. If you're wondering about the temperature, we have you covered. So we go here and in benchmarks 35.7 degrees Celsius, which means there is no overheating, while in games 33.6 degrees Celsius, once again zero overheating. Okay, and now we're off to the battery. Once again, I'm going to resort to the AIDA app, and you can see here that we have a 4,325 mAh battery, which charges at 33 watts via wire. By the way, Galaxy Z Flip 6 was, last I remembered, around 4,000 watts, 4,000 mAh, so this one is actually better. The predecessor was pretty close with 4,310 mAh. So let's see how it did in our test. So we go here first to the video playback test. We achieved a pretty good 18 hours and 36 minutes. It's pretty far from the top 10, but it's not a regular phone, it's a foldable phone, so yeah. By the way, it's surpassed by the Galaxy Z Flip 6 with 21 hours and 30 minutes. The Razer 50 had 22 hours and 50 minutes, so a bit of a mid-range behavior, so yeah, there's that. At least we beat the Motorola Razer 40, which had 17 hours and 56 minutes. When it comes to continuous usage, it's a bit of a letdown, 9 hours and 31 minutes. Closer to the bottom of the top, beating older phones, but I should probably also mention that yeah, Galaxy Z Flip 6 had 12 hours and 46 minutes. At least we beat the Huawei P50 Pocket, which had 9 hours and 14 minutes. I expected a little better. I want to see at least 11 hours on the successor. When it comes to the charging, it took 53 minutes to juice up the phone fully with a Baseus 100 watt charger, and after 30 minutes you're at 70%, which is actually not that bad. For the settings, we have power saver, battery protection with a limited charges, dark mode and adaptive 5G for some reason. When it comes to acoustics, the device has a stereo setup. So bottom speaker here, top speaker here, the earpiece basically, and yeah, I'm curious to see if we do have or not some settings. I mean, tweaks, DTS sound here, you can choose type, you can do smart selection, music, movie, game, and there's even an equalizer to play with. Nice. And now let's listen to some tunes. Okay, so decent volume, but I've heard louder. The bass is rather modest, it's more oriented towards the treble and the high notes, I would say. All in all, a decent experience, at least the sound is not strident when it comes to games and things like that. When it comes to the volume power, we achieved 81.8 decibels at the top and 90.9 decibels at the bottom. A huge difference between the top and the bottom speaker. The bottom speaker is much more powerful, so yeah, there's no balance, there's no stereophony here. Now, as you can see, we're on the 47th spot, and that's exactly not a bad spot to be, considering we've tested hundreds of phones. We beat the likes of the, I don't know, Motorola Moto G85, G50, G75, Realme 14 Pro Plus, but if I'm looking above this phone, I cannot see any other foldable, so it's actually one of the loudest foldables we've tested in recent history. Yeah, only the Motorola Razr 60 Ultra is above it as far as foldable phones go. So it's supposed to be pretty loud, but I didn't exactly feel that. In games, 95.1 decibels, decent, but usually we like to see closer to 100 decibels here. So as you can see, we surpassed Huawei Mate X6 just a little bit, Galaxy S21 FE, S24 FE, Z Fold 4, and I also saw that we surpassed Z Flip 6, which is one of its biggest rivals right now, even though they're not competing in the same specs area. Okay, that's all acoustics wise. By the way, in the gift box we have a bunch of live flip headphones, which are actually not bad, from Nubia. Now, as far as the camera is concerned, we have an upgrade for the selfie camera, which is cut in the screen here at the top side. This one is a 32 megapixel shooter compared to the 16 megapixels of the predecessor. If we go to the back side, the setup is pretty simple. 50 megapixel main camera, f1.6 aperture, dual pixel PDAF, and a 2 megapixel bokeh camera, plus a ring light LED flash, and yeah, I would say that's about it. Sadly, no optical stabilization for the main camera. You can also use the main camera as a selfie camera, as you probably figured out already, with this interface here, stickers, video, portraits and all that. So there's no problem if you don't like the quality of the selfie camera. Now let's analyze the samples. Okay, so we have three versions of selfies. So we have selfies taken with the camera integrated in the screen, and selfies also taken with the camera, well, the external camera using the second screen. We also have portrait selfies. So yeah, there are three types of selfies taken. Obviously, if you want the best details, you're going to use the main camera like we did here, with an excellent bokeh in the background. You can also see the watermark here confirming the handset. I'm actually very happy by what we achieved here. The facial details, the color of the eyes, and even the regular selfie camera isn't bad, considering you're getting so many pixels, but the clarity is superior on the back camera, and the exposure of the background is, I would say, also slightly better. And you can also see more natural colors here compared to the whitish one of the selfie shooter. There are also some beauty effects applied without asking us. Well, you can actually remove them if you're pressing a button. Okay, so daytime shots. Let's get back to that. Here we have a selection of photos with some pretty good colors, I would say, and a pretty nice focus in close-ups on these plants here. Now, when it comes to the day, I would have expected the phone to encounter some oversaturation here and there, because there was a bit of sun, but it didn't. When it comes to the zoom, you can see it here, up to 2 or 3x it's fine, even though you're seeing a bunch of noise already once you're watching it on the PC. I was tempted to always look for the ultra-wide camera, but we do not have an ultra-wide camera, so we only have one level of, so to say, capture. Nice focus on close-up objects, I'll say it again, and the colors are spot on, if not a bit warm. They remind me of the Huawei Warmth from a few years ago, with that extra yellow pixel which triggered it. Pretty nice details all in all, and a pretty decent 50 megapixel camera. You should get the same performance as a Galaxy A36 or A56 at best. And a pretty nice way of blurring the objects in the background and highlighting the ones in the foreground, as you can see for yourself here. Once again, a few zoom tests, only digital, and of course a lot of noise at 5x, so stick to 2x at most. Once again, daytime shots, pretty okay colors if you like warmth, pretty good close-up focus, not exactly macro, but excellent bokeh thanks to that secondary camera which is dedicated strictly to that aspect. Those have been daytime shots. Now let's talk about lower light shots. We're in the same area, by the way, the western part of Bucharest, Romania, Eastern Europe. Here we are. Moving objects are not captured properly. You can see the motion here, and the street lights are quite a bit bigger, and the headlights as well. Basically, if you have moving objects and if you have zoom, you're going to encounter moved objects, blur and noise. But if you're static, captures will look quite okay, even selfies taken with the main camera. These are some of the static shots. Some of the light sources are a bit, I would say, highlighted or improved, but this one is not exactly top notch, but with the night mode you can definitely fix what you don't like. There is some ghosting in the movements. I'll stick with that. So if you capture moving subjects, there will be ghosting for sure. And if you don't like the quantity of light captured here, you can apply the night mode and things will become a bit better. What's too bright will become darker, and what's too dark will become equalized to the brighter parts of the image. There are some halos for the street lights, but nothing extreme and nothing we haven't seen on a mid-range phone nowadays. So to be honest, I actually expected it to be worse than it is. So all in all, a pretty okay behavior of the camera at the nighttime, especially if you're applying the night mode. Now, when it comes to the videos, we have plenty of them, so let's take them one by one. You can definitely feel that we're missing optical image stabilization. Things are a bit on the shaky side. You can feel every steps we've taken. The clarity is fine in 4K. Speaking of resolution, if you're filming yourself in selfie mode, you're only stuck with Full HD, and I'm talking about the selfie camera. Thank God we have the main camera in the second screen, so we can take proper 4K selfies. Okay, let's see what else. Another video. This is actually better stabilized. Still imperfect, but still better stabilized than the one before. It's the video anti-shake feature, by the way. But there's a slight effect of constant refocus which bothers me. The colors are fine, just like they were in the photos. Many phones I've seen tend to have brighter and more intense colors in the video compared to the photo. Here they're exactly the same, a bit warmer but not oversaturated. That's the good piece of news. And another video here. Pretty good details in 4K, nothing to object about. The sky looks fine, the vegetation looks fine, slight oversaturation here and there. And we also have a focus test or two, which is passed with flying colors. And that's that. Now we go to the low light, where expectations are pretty low. A bit of ghosting here at moving subjects, and a bit echoey when it comes to the microphones. Details will drop a bit, but not as aggressively as I would expected them to, especially if you have some strong light sources nearby. There are some reflections and some of the light sources are a bit too big, but the clarity, well, that aperture definitely matters, f1.6, and you're getting a lot of light. That's it camera-wise. Let's talk about connectivity. So this phone supports 5G connectivity as well as Wi-Fi 6. It doesn't go to Wi-Fi 6E or Wi-Fi 7, and it also comes with Bluetooth 5.4, GPS, GLONASS, Galileo and BDS. There's NFC and a USB-C 2.0 port at the bottom. There's no infrared here at the top side. The calls were reasonably loud. The earpiece is not the loudest I've heard, to be honest, and these are some of the speed tests we did recently. Let's see them. Okay, so we go here, results. We achieved a maximum of 476 megapers in download 5G and also 69.2 megapers in upload. I expected a bit more, especially from the upload. When it comes to Wi-Fi, an impressive 776 over 829 in download and upload respectively. Now software-wise, I think I spoiled it for you when I showed you everything in the unboxing. This is my OS 14 on top of Android 14, or it was before an update. So this is actually, yeah, my OS 14 on top of Android 14. I would say it's due an update. We should get Android 15 at some point. It's weird that we have my OS 14 on top of Android 14. Even now, I actually feel the need to check it. Yeah. Speaking of updates, you should be getting 2 years of Android updates. That's more likely the situation, perhaps 3 if we're lucky enough. Now, security happens in the form of a fingerprint scanner. The fingerprint scanner is embedded on the side. You can also unlock the device with your face. And I think it's time to address what you're getting on the external screen. That's the core here. Outer screen. So, we have this pet family. You can apply a bunch of pets to have fun with, a bunch of beautiful scenario, live wallpapers, and cover screen things. You can also answer and hang up from the external screen. You can have one finger access, and there's also the always on display available for the external screen, which you can activate from here with a digital clock. Also one finger access, pattern fingerprint, pin and fingerprint, and password or fingerprint. That's for the outer screen. The always on display is customized from here. As I said before, you can have some pretty cool options for it like this. You also have the cover screen applications. These are the phone, weather, voice recorder if you're a journalist, dialogue translation. You can also add and remove some of them. There are also demo apps. You can add those here, but they probably won't behave ideally. I see that most of them are supported. They're called demo, but they may not behave ideally. So I have weather now, calendar, alarm, voice recorder if you're a journalist, it's useful. We also have dialogue translation. You can even split the screen in two, as the two people will see what they're talking about. One will see a language, the other one will see her language. When you're saying something like, where is the beer place nearby? This is Spanish. The Spanish person sees this, the English person sees this, and that's how the translation happens. Okay, now aside from that, even though it says Google Assistant here, it's actually Gemini. Gemini is available on this phone, including the external screen, and that's pretty cool. That's only part of the whole AI package. You keep this pressed here, and you can activate Gemini, and you also have it available by pressing this button here. There's also circle to search, and aside from circle to search, you can also use AI features. You press edit here, AI for editing photos. You press this button here. You have to back up the photo a little bit, upload it, and you'll be able to erase subjects. I'm talking about people or objects, and do several other things We have here dynamic, enhanced, vivid, luminous, radiant. You can do crop, you have tools, you have the magic eraser here with AI. It suggests to erase people and objects, and also mess around with the light, the reflections, and other annoying things. There's also a one-handed mode and a Z-pop options with shortcuts quickly available from the screen, and you also have a sort of tent mode like this. You put the phone on the nightstand, you're going to see notifications, photo gallery, and more things like that. Of course, you can also use other things on this screen. So aside from the pets, which are basically a gimmick, you can also have this area of quick settings. You should also have one thing that I feel it's lacking here is a sort of, I would say, selection of widgets and home screens would have been useful on this panel. Now let's see if we miss something else. From here we have connectivity settings, we have NFC, which I mentioned before, we have themes and personalization, this Nubia Classic. You can tweak app icons, fonts, animations, colors and shapes. We have home screen options. We have something called SyncMind, which is basically AI with a special 5G feature, and the AI real-time translation, which you saw before. There are also special gestures if you want. We have the apps here available, dialogue translation and more safety features, and well, that's that. Quite a few pre-installed apps, to be honest. We had a gaming application here, we have a private space, you have puzzle pets, you have WPS Office, you have ZTE Cares, and a few more like booking.com. Those are extras which we found here. I think that's pretty much it. We also have the full Google Suite here, just in case you're wondering, and a cleanup application which is useful for the resources and should keep everything in check. Image cleanup, video cleanup, audio cleanup, and junk files. We're supposed to also get an over-the-air update which will bring AI wallpapers and a real-time translation for office conferences. And when everything is said and done, one of the most useful features remains, I would say, the camera accessed from here. Now, aside from that, I think it's time for the verdict. So, the pros and cons. On the pro side, a good-looking design which is durable, a larger external screen which now gets more useful compared to the predecessor. I'm talking about the features and the applications and the size. The foldable screen actually is shocking through its brightness. I'm obviously talking about its huge, above 1000 lux brightness. Good looking selfies and nice close-ups with the main camera. The camera is quite flexible when you're using the ring light and external screen to take proper videos, vlogs and selfies. And the AI suite is here, coupled with Gemini, live translation, magic eraser, circle to search, and so more. Those are the pros. On the cons, the price is quite higher compared to the first Nubia Flip. The battery has a pretty modest battery life compared to expectation. We don't have a charger in the regular box. The speaker tend to produce some vibration, and there's no optical image stabilization for the main camera. Now, the predecessor was hailed as the most affordable flip phone on the market, which this one loses because for 600 euros you could buy a previous generation Galaxy Z Flip, which is more affordable and possibly better in camera and in battery life. There's also the Motorola ones which have become more affordable, the Razr 40, Razr 50, perhaps even the Razr 60. So keep that in mind. Once the price drops below something like 400 euros, this may become pretty interesting. I love the AI features that it comes with. I love the close-ups, and to be honest, the charging is decently fast for me. And even games ran fine in a mid-range way. That's it from us. Goodbye. Expect a price cut if you're going to buy it.